Look at you. You're going to be great. You're in a new office. You're in a new facility, and you look and sound great, Bill Krueger.
Good. Well,
Okay,
there you go.
You look and sound great, and we love having you. It's a Monday. It's always Bill Krueger. Let's get the show started. It's the Bill Krueger Show here on pucksports.com. It's all brought to you by Rise Above Foundation. Visit nativeyouthriseabove.org. You can follow Bill on X. Follow him there on Twitter at Bill Krueger44. He joins us from the Puck Sports Studios, built by Limback Lumber, family owned and serving the Northwest since 1930. The Northwest premier supplier of specialized lumber and moldings. Summer is here. That means it's deck and fence season. Contact the folks at Limback Lumber, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. Puck Sports Studios, built by Limback Lumber. How was your weekend? All good. You got it's like a first day of school for you because you're at a new building and a new gig.
Yeah, just opening up all the new stuff. Got my computer that's being downloaded as we speak, and brand new office. I have my own office here in downtown Seattle, so I really moved up in the world, Jason. I just hope they don't find out really what the truth about me is, and then the gig will be up. But I've got them fooled so far, Jace.
Yeah, you do. Well, it was a good weekend there for the Mariners.
Yeah.
Just your thoughts there against the Phillies. I mean, they blew them out on Friday. They have a great comeback there on Saturday. Sunday, it slips away from them late, but 2 out of 3 against the Phillies. But Bill, you'll take that every time.
Sure. The Phillies are the best team in the National League. That's what the records say. They've been struggling a little bit. Everybody goes through struggles, and but they're a good team. They showed you what they were capable of being, obviously, on Sunday. But this was a great series win for the team, and you can tell the infusion of new people has made a mark on the Mariners and their ability to win.
Okay, let's start there with I was talking to Jim Moore on Monday's edition of the Daily Puck Drop about Arozarena and Victor Robles, and I was there on Saturday. Well, you get it from the get-go with these two guys. Robles gets hit on the knee, jumps up. He's down on the ground. He's in pain. He gets up and he just starts firing up the crowd as he walks to first base. Arozarena gets a double, and the first thing he's doing is firing up the crowd. What is it about these two guys that they bring to this team from an energy standpoint that is so important for the squad?
Well, energy is great, and having enthusiasm for the game, and it seems to lift your team when you have players like that. You need a couple players like that, and they have to be good players. You can't just have a guy that's like an Energizer buddy, but he can't play. That doesn't do you any good. But these guys can play. Arozarena came with a resume as a guy that was clutch in postseason. He's had a very good career, and he's a 5-tool kind of player. And he's already shown that to the Mariners. He's hitting well over 300. He's slugging well over 400 and getting on base, just doing all the things you would hope he'd be able to do. He kind of caught his tailwind because his start of the season was so slow, and he's been clipping along, and the Mariners picked him up at the right time, and he's a tremendous fit in the lineup. He's a guy that you have to stop and pay attention to when you get ready to scout a team. You get ready to face the Mariners. You have to sit down and talk about Arozarena, okay, like Julio Rodriguez. So he becomes the critical pickup for this team because he can do damage and he can run the bases. And he can slash the ball around, and he's clutch. And you can kind of lean on him. Now, Victor Robles is his own story. A guy that was a tremendous prospect with Washington Nationals, had a great start to his career, had similar toolkit as to what Arozarena can bring to the table, and then fell on hard times, struggled, and then found himself kind of as a part-time player and became expendable. The Mariners got him, picked him up for nothing. Made a quick change in his batting stance. If you've seen it, he's all spread out with no stride. It's a mirror image of Gene Segura. It is absolutely Gene Segura. No stride, same hand position. You put them side by side, they look identical. And whatever that's done for him, it's allowed him to see the baseball. He's not jumping. He's not getting his way too far forward. He's staying back and using his hands and not striding, and it's working for him. He's hitting the ball all over the park. He's hitting the ball for base hits. He's driving the ball out of the ballpark, and he can really run. He's a genuine base stealing threat. And look, he's we've talked a little bit about him as an outfielder. He's in center. He won't be there forever. I think the more he plays, the better he plays. That's for sure. And he's made the plays. I think he's still a work in progress in the outfield, but he's a plus runner, so he's going to help him.
He's gotten better out there from what you've seen in the outfield the more he's played, or?
Well, I think center field's the easiest position to play. The corners are a lot harder to play. The center field's the easiest place to play, but you got to be good enough to play there. And he plays really shallow, and we talked about that last week. And he had one that hit the track over his head, and I talked about it. The ball cannot hit the track. If the ball hits the track with air underneath it, that means you're playing too shallow. And then yesterday he made one where he was, going left, right, and he stuck his glove up and caught it. And that was a heck of a play, but I'm not so sure that he had it all the way. How's that? I don't mean to be I don't mean to be ultra critical of the guy because he's really helping the team. He's a very talented player they got for free, and he looks like he's going to hit and he's going to play for this team.
Yeah,
our outfield outside of Julio, it doesn't even measure. That's why what's happened here at the deadline isn't so much that Arozarena is this extraordinary player that it's a once-in-a-lifetime player, and Justin Turner's a once-in-a-lifetime player. No, it's because the baseline of this team offensively was so low that we become the ones that are the most hungry because all you had to do is raise it to a certain place, and now this team is really good because they were so under the water offensively. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That you got a guy.
No, of course. I mean, it's like
not everybody could say Arozarena is better than everybody we got in our corner outfield. Justin Turner's better than any right-hand bat we have in our lineup. Most teams won't say that, but the Mariners could because Garver's struggling, right? Left field's been open tryouts. It's anybody. We've put all kinds of guys out there. Right field, Haniger, who started to swing the bat a little bit better, has struggled mightily. So. This has lifted the team. They needed an infusion of offense. They got it. These guys are catching them with a little bit of tailwind. Robles is a nice find, like a diamond in the rough. And suddenly this team has got a little bit of swag to them and the ability to score runs. They scored over 50-some-odd runs in the games that since this is all transpired, which is great. It's over 5 runs a game.
The fan base has already jumped so much on board with Victor Robles. I'm not sure if you've seen this. There's already talk of, hey, let's sign him to an extension. Let's get what would you? I mean, it's 36 games in. Is that enough? Have you seen enough to where the Mariners would make a future commitment to Victor Robles, or do we need from a front office standpoint let this play out for the rest of the season before we start talking about that?
I think you don't have to do anything. This guy's playing for his career, and that's a good thing. He's hungry. Let's see him continue to do it. Let's see if his play can stay consistent. So as I watch him a little bit, I just hope he doesn't get too caught up in all the posturing and all the energy, because I thought it looks to me like when he was starting to get in the lineup, he was keeping it really simple. He was short to the ball. He was happy driving the ball for a base hit. He was happy about getting on base. And now he looks like he's got that, like, I'm going to get big on you. I'm going to hit balls out of the ballpark every time I go to the plate. And I hope he doesn't do that, because I don't think that's what he's all about. I think he's going to catch balls because he's strong and quick, but don't focus on that. Don't focus on slugging. Stay in your lane, get base hits. That's where he needs to stay. Does that make sense?
100%. Now we're a ways away from this happening when JP comes back. I maintain I want to see, as long as he keeps doing what he's doing at the leadoff spot. I think Victor Robles to me just seems like more of a natural leadoff hitter, and just in terms of what he does, how he gets on base, but then the chaos that he can cause once he gets on the base. I think that separates him from JP Crawford. What do you? I mean, I know it's a ways off. It's weeks away. What do you think that they would do? Would they put JP right back in there and then move Robles around, or would you have JP hit someplace else, maybe ninth in the order?
That's a great question. That's a really great question. JP would have to understand that maybe, him getting back into the lineup, it's purely about how important he is to get back on the team and in the lineup, to be our shortstop and to be playing and to do what he does well, which is get on base. It doesn't matter where that lands, if that makes sense. They could do it where perhaps let him get some at-bats down the order. He starts to get his rhythm. You move him back to the leadoff spot. Maybe Victor leads off against left-handed pitching, even though Crawford hits left-handed pitching pretty well. It's a good problem to have when you start thinking about the guys that could hit at the top of the order. When we were hunting and pecking for those guys, now you've got Arozarena, you got Victor Robles, you got Crawford, and you got Julio. How do you stack them? It's a good problem to have because they want Julio to hit higher in the order. I think they prefer him to hit higher in the order because everybody knows number 2 spot's the catbird seat. That's your best hitter in today's baseball. I mean, that's a head scratcher for me, but the 2-hole guy is your guy, right? I mean, when Julio's going good, he's hitting 2. Now he's been hitting 3, and that's probably where they'll go. They'll have him come back and hit 3, or Arozarena will hit 2, and probably Robles or Crawford will lead off, and you kind of go from there. You got Raleigh. The nice thing is that Raleigh's a left-hand hitter, so Raleigh has to hit higher than he really should be hitting, and I don't mean that as a slight. Raleigh's having a heck of a season. He hits in the big situations. He's got a ton of power. He plays. I mean, I love the player. I just love him. I think he's everything that I love about guys that just spit on it, rub it, keep playing. You know, he plays with a hard-nosed edge. He's a great leader, and he hits when it matters. And he has some strikeout in his game. So I think it depends on the matchup. You know, if Turner's going to hit before Raleigh or Raleigh hits behind Turner or whatever the mix and match might look like. But these are good problems for Scott Service to have.
I want expand on Raleigh because he's left. Why does he have to hit higher than he should?
Well, we just don't have a lot of left-handed sluggers, right? Who do we have? Luke Riley on occasion. What else?
That's it.
That's it. So we don't have a lot of left-handed.
Yeah, that's it. I got you.
Crawford sometimes gets a little Ted Williams-y for me, but you know he should. I wish he would be a little bit more short line drive, but you know he hit 16, 17 homers last year, so he's got a little bit of pop. But Raleigh's your left-handed bat. Raley's a part-time player, and I don't mean that as a slight. He's a good player, but he's a part-time player. He's not an everyday player. Raleigh's your everyday player, and he plays every day.
Does he play too much?
Him out. Yes. I think he needs a day off. I think you want to get most out of him, you need to give him a day off. And granted, so when Garver, and maybe they can now with the additional bats when they get some of these guys back, there's a little bit more room to take him out of the lineup because, you know, Garver catches and then maybe he doesn't have to DH that day because Turner DHs or Raley DHs. You give him a day off, right? He needs a day off. But he's so instrumental to our lineup that he plays every day. And I think he needs, every once in a while, you got to take him off, let him sit down, let him rest.
Yeah, they're in a tough situation. I wonder as the season goes on, do they look for options, whether it's a waiver or whether it's something in Tacoma to bring up another catcher and carry 3 just because of this? Now, maybe they can get away with it. Maybe they don't have to do it now that they've got all these other options that can DH. Now you're paying a lot of money for a backup catcher, but I mean, I guess you would just say it is what it is, and they'll just have to deal with it. But do you think they would be wise to find another catcher to bring up?
I can't see that. I mean, I think they've got other options at the DH spot, and whether it's Haniger, because there's going to be musical chairs. We start talking about if you're going to stack the lineup with Robles, Julio, and Arozarena, man, the music is stopped and everybody's sitting in their chairs. Now, and you got Justin Turner as your everyday DH, more or less. He'd play first as well. You have a lot of options, but it doesn't. The music stops and guys are looking for a spot. Riley and Haniger and Garver, they're all looking for a spot, right? So it's going to depend on the situation. Garver's going to catch. Maybe he catches a little bit more. Maybe he catches, a little bit more than just Kirby. Just to give him a little bit more work. But right now he's catching once every 5 days. He's catching Kirby, which is fine. They've gotten comfortable with each other. That's fine. And that's at least a day that Cal can get off. I think it's more about trying to manage Cal and making sure you want him hitting, you want him playing, but you just want to make sure that you don't end up with a completely worn out guy when you get to the middle of September.
Mm-hmm. What did you make of the Garver situation? I mean, he was when they were on the road trip before he came back. I mean, he was very honest. about his struggles. I mean, to the point where, when I'm doing shows saying, forget about the baseball player for a second. When I hear someone talk the way he was talking, it was like, is the person okay? Because he didn't sound to me that he was okay. And not just from a baseball standpoint, just from of the person, the man that Mitch Garver is. And I'm thinking maybe he needs to get a day or two off, maybe a week off, just to kind of reset. Obviously that didn't happen. He talked openly about, what he's hearing on social media, the death threats and things like that. And there was a response from fans, hey, let's give him a standing ovation on Saturday. Let's, or whenever he played. I was there on the game on Saturday. There was a few people that did it, myself included, but not many. It's a hard sport. They're all hard. Every sport is. This sport in particular, I don't need to tell you that. You played it. The everyday grind of it. But what do you make of where Garver is at right now, and then his comments that he made to Ryan Divish and Daniel Kramer?
Well, being very candid, I mean, he's clearly a great guy. He's a great person. He cares. He cares deeply about the team and the city. He feels, I think, humbly honored that they offered him a 2-year deal, and that's probably a huge piece of his financial success as he looks at his life moving forward. It's huge, right? So he wants to deliver. He wants to deliver on the promise, right? And it hasn't happened. I mean, he's a much better hitter career-wise than what he's doing here, no question. And I think that we all, if you should have, well, fans are hardcore. It's just you either deliver or I don't like you. Social media is just no place to pay a whole lot of attention to, because there's a lot of. I mean, I don't need to explain what social media is. I think you turn that off if you're a player. You got to turn it off. I mean, that would be easy for me because I'm already off. But for a player, I think you turn it off and stay inside of the lane. Now there's still going to be family and your wife and all these people out there that are feeding you this information. And maybe you just say, look, I know you guys care about me, and I think we just need to turn it off. We just need to turn it off. Let's just stay inside of our lives and try to focus on that. And as I look at him as a player, I mean, he's got a lot of power. To me, he's an answer against left-handed pitching. I mean, if it's a lefty-handed pitcher, I got to think a little bit more about his opportunity to play, okay, as a DH or catcher, because I think he can still hit left-handed pitching. Right-handed pitching, it's a freeway of outs away. Sliders and fastballs away. It's just a freeway out there of outs. Everything from the middle part of the plate away, sliders, it's just over, right? He's going to have to make an adjustment. His adjustment is, like a lot of hitters, they need to do it on 2 strikes, where we see guys. Have we watched Justin Turner in the last week? Have we watched how he hits? He gets the 2 strikes and he gives up the inside part of the plate. He fights the ball off, and you saw that one base hit first game he played here, and he took and flicked the breaking ball to right field for a base hit, drove in a run. He hit a ground ball, moved the guy to third. I mean, come on. That's the way to play. No wonder people like him. I mean, he's got a resume of hitting, but he's also showing everybody this is professional hitting. This is how you play the game. I've rarely seen 2-strike hitting this year like what Justin Turner has shown us, okay? Garver, he needs to get into an idea. He has to sort of have an idea about the breaking ball away. He's going to have to get jammed. That's what I mean by getting jammed. You stay on the ball a little bit longer, you get jammed, and maybe even if you get jammed, you hit a dying quail over the second baseman's head. He's got to stay on the ball long. Polanco has done a better job of that. He's covering the plate better. I don't know why it took him so long, but it did. He finally woke up. I think wonder, hey, I've been in the Minnesota organization for half my life, and now I'm here and I got no net. I don't know who to talk to, and I'm lost. And his bat was leaving the zone too soon. Garver, same thing. He's very straight up and very stiff, and this is his swing, and he doesn't have a lot of fluidity the way he hits, but he hits. He's hit his whole life. I'm not going to argue with that. He can't cover away. It's just plain and simple. Can't cover away. If you don't start covering away, you're just an out. People figure it out. So to me, it's pretty simple. Put your head down, keep working hard, but work hard smartly. Figure out what it is that's not working. You're not covering away. You got to start understanding that. You got to stay on the ball away and the breaking ball and not chase the breaking ball, but give up the inside part of the plate. Give up the, I'm going to hit it 400 feet side of the plate. That's my opinion. Nobody wants to hear it. I'm a pitcher.
No, they all want to hear your opinion. That's why we have you on.
Well,
Come on,
I
we
know
all
about
want to hear your opinion.
I hit. I understand what it means to be in the box. I know that it's not easy.
Yeah,
I hit my whole life. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's.
So,
I mean,
there's a place for Garver. I'm just saying, let's get away from everything. Let's turn off the noise, Mitch, and let's get you so focused. But not just doing the same. The mistake is doing the same thing again and again. You have to sort of change something, right? Something's got to change. Something about your approach has got to change.
Some have just suggested to him that stop complaining. I've heard some and ex-professional athletes telling him to stop whining about it.
Well,
this is a different day and age, though, right?
You're getting that kind of noise from these quacks out there. I'm sure that it's not real, but it's disturbing. It's disturbing to your family. It's disturbing. So you have to sort of have sensitivity about that. Give this guy a little bit of empathy about what's going on, or sympathy. Empathy from a player. Player can empathize because he's been there before, right? Yeah, and then I think you have to sort of turn the page and say, okay, I got to start painting I got to paint a new picture here. I got to change the script. I got to have a different approach, not radically different, but a different way of going up to your at bat and just saying to yourself, okay, I dare you. I'm going to stay on the ball away. I'm going to look away. I'm going to hit the breaking ball. I'm going to look away, and then I'll adjust to the fastball if I have to. I'm looking away. Because he's not covering it. And people are getting him out time and again. What are you going to do? You're going to have to do something to change.
I want you to go back to Justin Turner for a second, if you will, because we were talking Garver, and then you kind of morphed into Turner, and I had it on my list of things to ask you about. Haniger talked about it, I think Saturday night, I believe, is when Haniger talked about the impact that Justin Turner has had on him. You talked about, listen, his first hit was one of those balls that was down and away, and he got it and poked it out into right field. What type of impact does someone like Justin Turner have, not only just on Mitch Haniger, but on the entire team?
Well, he's such a credible source. He's a guy that you can go and talk hitting with. You could talk baseball with, and he's pretty secure in his own skin and his own shoes. He's comfortable with the player he is, but he has to hit. He has to play well to have that credibility. I remember when Jay Buhner was toward the end of his career, and Jay was one of the most strongest guys in the clubhouse. I mean, his word meant a lot, and he was a leader. But when he got hurt a bunch and he couldn't hit anymore, he wasn't a leader anymore. So he's still got to hit. He's still going to have to play. He's got to have to hit, and then of course that influence is far greater. For veteran players that maybe feel like they're trapped in their iPad, or they're hearing the same message maybe over and over again from the hitting side of the organization, that maybe having a conversation that Justin Turner could understand what Mitch is trying to say about what he's trying to get, how he's trying to get a certain feel about the way he's approaching the baseball. And maybe he can have a really intelligent conversation with Turner because they're on the same place. They're peers. And Justin's got the time of day for him. He cares about this. He sees that as part of his role, not just staying in his own lane. I got to deliver. The pressure's on me, and that's it. He's willing to share, and that's what leaders do. So I think it's terrific. I mean, Haniger's looking better at the plate. He had a good weekend. Hopefully, it can continue for him. He's got a lot of moving parts in his swing. That's got to be hard because when you're simple, it's not as hard. It's like, look at Robles. Look how simple he is, right? That's simple. Haniger's the other side. That doesn't mean it's bad. That's just the type of hitter he is.
How much do you think, and maybe he already is, how much do you think Julio should just soak in Justin Turner for the rest of this season?
Well, I don't know.
As much as he possibly can to sit there and talk.
I don't know. I don't know. I do not know Julio's mindset around asking people for help. I don't know. I don't know what sort of drives his thinking, and maybe he could have a conversation with Carlos Santana because they come from the same place. I don't know. But this is Justin Turner. They have no relationship. Justin's not going to tell him what to do, and whether or not that's a source that Julio wants to go to, that's a whole nother thing, right?
Yeah. But if you were Julio, would you advise, like, if you would advise Julio, would you advise him, hey man, like, soak in everything this guy has got about baseball, about hitting, about approaching pitchers, because this guy's seen it all and he's had great success at every stop he's been.
Yeah, I think some of this, as Julio gains a measure of his understanding of the game and how he's going to get really smart inside the game, and how that he's able to pick up things that make him a better player, because you can get overloaded with information. That's bad. And you can't be who you're not. You have to be who you are. That's certainly important as he develops himself as a hitter. And, I think anytime he's holding court and talking about the opposing pitcher or talking about hitting in general, it would be a great listen for him. I mean, and hopefully that's the approach that he's taking, because we haven't had, and we talked about this, Jason, about this sort of void of anybody that's sort of inside the dugout that can sort of say, hey guys, are you watching this guy? He's starting everybody at the slider, or he's just in the corner of the dugout and you could talk to him. And, and I'm sure he's not going to be one of those guys to say, hey guys, you got to do it like I do it. You see how my 2 strike stance was? You see how I went to right field? You guys got to start doing that. He's not going to do that. I mean, I think in general, we're just doing as across the board in baseball. 2 strike hitting is terrible. Now you're going to say, oh, it's because everybody throws 100. Oh, it's because everybody's, they've all flown in from Krypton. The pitchers have become so much better and the hitters have lost their way. Pitchers so much better, hitters lost their way. And like a fail swoop, like in 5 or 10 years. Give me a break. The strike zone's big. But you got to understand, hitters need to understand that 2 strike hitting is important. That you don't have to hit one with high exit velocity to get a hit. That maybe you hit it where they're not, and you stay on the ball a little bit longer, and you make a little bit more contact, and that makes you a better hitter, makes you a better player. Now, you're not going to slug. You're going to give up a little bit there. You could slug, first couple you get the count in your favor. You're trying to swing the bat hard, trying to hit the ball hard. But 2 strike hitting across baseball is terrible. It's awful. What are we going to do about it? We're not going to do anything about it. Does baseball care? They all like to tell you, oh, control the zone. Oh, yeah, that's what we do. We talk about it all the time. But then in the background, the sabermetricians say, that's not what it is. It's slugging and strikeouts and walks. That's how you do it. Right?
I love it.
And the pitches are too hard. They're too difficult. They're just too difficult. They all throw 100, Jason. They all have breaking balls that fall off the table. They're all impossible to hit. Give me a break. I don't think.
Well, I love what Turner's brought. I mean, all the additions. I mean, I think I've really liked what they've brought to the team. I think the Turner,
the team is
whether
infused.
Yeah, exactly right. That that's the best word to use, the best term. They're infused with, I think, a sense of hope, and like we got pieces now that we can go out and get it. Now whether they do or don't, we'll see. I mean, we've got final with 50 odd games ready to go. But I think my buddy, as we sitting there Saturday as we wrap up, my buddy was sitting there looking at the lineup and he goes, you know what, I know Turner's past his prime, but he goes, look at that lineup, and he goes, it doesn't even include Julio and JP yet, but just look at it. It looks more like a real lineup, or they have not had like a real lineup. And I'm like, yeah, exactly right. And that's got to be a confidence booster for those guys.
And, you look at that starting pitching, it continues to roll. All those guys are throwing good. All of them. I mean, even, Miller's game, which we should talk about, is that, these are things that you have. He's one of the best pitchers in the month of July. And as soon as he got one little problem, and he's got to come out of the game, and of course it blows up on him. As I've talked to you, Jason, we've got another reliever in the bullpen, or 2. Chargois, not like him. Both he and Garcia, strike throwers with a plan, good stuff. Strike throwers with a plan, with good stuff, right? And that's good. Left-handed pitching, kind of wondering about it a little bit. Remember when I said A.J. Puck about a week or 2 ago? He went to Arizona. That would have been a guy I would have tried to get. Spire's arm problem.
Saucedo struggled.
Saucedo is more suited for even or behind. He's guile, he's tough, but You can't just make him try to get all the key guys out with the game on the line. I don't think he's quite there yet, which again gets me back to the conversation, which another thing that I kind of drew from this weekend, our starting pitchers. Did you watch Wheeler pitch? That's the next level. That's the next level for all our guys. That's the next level. Great stuff. Keeps it simple, pounds the strike zone, keeps the pitch count down, and guess what happens? Goes further in the game. And what does that mean? For our team, I think, like I've said, if we could get closer to 7 than just closer to 6 from our starters, that's, I think, the difference. That's the difference now. Can they get to 7? Now, we all know the pitch count rules, so we're going to have to be a little bit more efficient. Well, did you see how Wheeler pitches? Efficient. Moving fastball, good plan with the fastball. If you don't have a good plan with the fastball, you're not going to be efficient. Right now, of our starters, the 2 guys that have the ability to be most efficient with the fastball are Wu and Kirby. They're the most efficient with the fastball. Yeah. They can pitch in the strike zone, and they can pitch in and out with the fastball. The other 3 are scattery, looking for whiff. It's constantly searching for whiff. If you love whiff, you love the other 3, because it's all about whiff, right? It's all about swing and miss. And that swing and miss is great. It's fun. It's dunks. It's 3-pointers. Okay, it's fun. But to me, it's not efficient. Whiff is not efficient. Whiff is great when you got 2 strikes. That's a whiff. I like that one. The 2-strike whiff. Where's that number? I like that one. The rest of them I could care less about. I'd rather see hard sinker away, ground ball to second, and when I need the strikeout, I get it. When you get me to 2 strikes, I'll do it to you. I'll stick it to you. I'll bury the slider. I'll throw you a split. We watched Wheeler do that yesterday. That's the next level of pitching.
Still there?
Yep.
No, sorry about that. Your internet was going in and out. You kind of cut out. That's okay. That's the internet. That's what happens. Yeah. That's a great point on all those guys and Miller. Would you have liked to wrap up Miller? You would have preferred him to stay in there?
Yes.
And finish that inning? Okay.
He deserved it. 1-0, we're behind. He's got 80 some odd pitches. And plus it's a good challenge for him. You're already behind the game.
Right.
He hasn't gotten hit. An infield hit a walk. They had done nothing off him. He'd been pitching great. Now you're going to pull the plug on him. Our bullpen's always 7th game of the World Series. We can't take any chances, right? Come on. Your best pitchers are your starters.
Well.
And I'm not saying, hey, you got to make everybody throw 120 pitches. We're not going to do that. I already know that. But I think he could have been pushed there. And that's just not looking in the rearview mirror going, well, of course you could say that now, Bill. Look what happened in the game. No, I felt that at the moment.
Yeah.
I felt that at the moment, that he wasn't struggling. He wasn't tiring. They weren't getting to him. And he needs to get, what he's going to do? He's going to think he's on the cliff the next time it happens. Whereas if you let him have some rope, now he has to challenge himself to see if he can do it. If he does it, that's a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of developing pitching. These guys are still developing. You need some rope. You need to be allowed not to get your head beat in, where you've given up 4 or 5 runs and you're like, well, we don't want to use our China dolls. They're all wrapped up in their nesting boxes. Can't touch them today. So starter, you go out there and take a licking. I hate that. I hate it. Put somebody from the bullpen out there. You suck it up. I'm going to rest my starter right here because he got hit around. He's going to be better the next time. Baseball's counterintuitive. Counterintuitive.
And with that, my friend, we wrap up the Bill Krueger show. We couldn't have ended on a better soundbite than right there. The Bill Krueger show, which of course airs every Monday. We drop new episodes at 1:00, and it's brought to you by Rise Above Foundation. Hey, best of luck in the new gig.
Thank you.
All right, have fun. Great new building.
Yeah.
And we always appreciate our Monday conversations. They're the best, and you're the best. Thank you, Bill.
Okay. Yeah, no problem, Puck. Thanks so much.
Yeah, the Bill Krueger Show every Monday, 1:00, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. And, of course, all content up at pucksports.com.